Hey, it's Matterall. Let's talk EVE Online. Today's date, August 14th, 2020. Here with a few friends, Sully, Arya, Hubenius. And we were talking about EVE Echoes just earlier. We'll try to talk about EVE Online now, get some information out there about where the war is and what's going on with it. And then if we have time, we'll talk about EVE Echoes too. Okay, I'm looking at Y-2ANO. You guys know what happened there yesterday?
Last night, U.S. time, the attacking forces sieged the Keepstar in Y-2ANO. The result, I wasn't in that battle specifically, but the result is that the attackers were able to reinforce the Keepstar into its shield timer. Mm-hmm. There was quite a bloody fight, especially on the side of the attackers. Link the battle report into chat.
I'll see if I can grab it.
Being on the Fountain side, the attackers had use of capitals because it is the system is located in Fountain, and the defenders coming from Delve did not have the use of capitals, and that's mainly due to the regional gate that separates Fountain from Delve. However, despite that, not having capitals on a defense, the defenders were able to fight off the Keepstar and did pretty well from a ISK efficiency perspective. The attackers lost far more in value of ships than defenders.
I don't see the battle report, but I do see the system here. So I'm just going to back up and grab some kill mail and see if I can get them all related, like this one here. That looks more like it.
I aimed it to you on Discord.
Also put in the voice tech channel.
Thank you. There we go. Oh, it's nice and concise. Let me make that bigger. All right, so we had like, well, not many, right? 385 ships defending this Keepstar, 623 attacking. The efficiency was god-awful for the attackers, but they completed their objective. So they did what they needed to do. They took a ISK loss doing it, but 42 billion, I guess it's nothing to sneeze at. Most of that was probably in fighters, right?
Yeah, it was mostly fighters.
Yeah, I heard it was like just a meat grinder for drones. Looks like Asher Elias was FC for the defensive forces, and Laz was backseating, which is something that appears to be going on these days. Is that right?
A lot of the structure for fleets on Imperium is multiple FCs on fleets. It allows a layer of redundancy if something happens to the FC, which I think is just smart in today's EVE Online and in big fleet war.
Yeah, most big blocks seem to bring 3 or 4 FCs just in case.
It also works as well as a second anchor. For example, if Asher gets webbed down heavily by the opposite fleets, then they will change anchor to the second hitter. That allows the fleet to still be mobile and not be slowed down due to a single web.
Well,
yeah. So backup anchors are one of the main things. Some FCs like to split the anchoring and target calling duties, and a few other things like monitors. One of the few things they can fit is a probe launcher, so sometimes they also split off combat probing to one of the other guys.
Okay, well, in the grand scheme of things, the reason this fight was important is Y-2ANO is in the southern part of Fountain. So this is the first attack. You can see down here in the red, that's where that is. And so the north, it looks like it's probably been pacified. Let's look at iHubs.
I think I saw that they don't have any iHubs in Fountain now.
Oh yeah, it's completely, we'll call it wrecked, because that's the call for, there's only one NC station. Wrecked is the ticker for Pandemic Horde. They're the ones that took over all the SOV, but these are iHubs that we're looking at, so they took over the iHubs, it looks like, as well. They have completely taken Fountain. There is one slice, one NC, those are allies, but there is no sign of Imperium in Fountain anymore.
They still have a lot of citadels, including some faction Fortizars and Keepstars, but I can't see any way that they could plausibly defend them if the regional gate gets taken after the Y-2 Keepstar.
Yeah. Now, the reason the Y-2 Keepstar is interesting is you can see here it's connected to Delve. That gray area there. Let's see what that looks like on an actual universe map. There is one long connection here. That's YTAC2 right up here. That means the closest system in Delve, or basically where the Imperium is a long, long light year jump. In fact, it's impossible to jump there. So in order to contest this system or this Keepstar, they have to come in with subcapitals and break through the gate, basically. The fleets can't be jumped there, and capitals can't jump in there. So that's just a subcap. How do they actually get into system? Like, can't they just blockade the gate, bubble it all to hell, and destroy anybody trying to get through?
So typically, when this fight will be going on, there will be sabers cloaked with combat readiness to warp down to that gate and bubble. So if any capitals decide to come through or major fleets, they could easily warp down there, bubble them, and that traps them on that gate. The Keepstar is also on that gate grid, so there will be ease for the attackers to see what comes in if they need to reposition and things like that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, I guess the fleet has to jump in early enough that they don't have that breach or that portal secure, and they get into system and wait around for the fight. Like, I'm not exactly sure why you wouldn't just make the fight at the gate, not at the Keepstar.
It would be down to the attackers to take the fight at the gate if they wanted to, or if they wanted to stay in tether range of their Astra House. That is the tricky part.
They have an Astra House in system.
Yes.
Okay.
Pandemic do have an Astra House anchored off the Keepstar. Likelihood is they're using their same tactic as they always do.
Yeah.
They have done for this war.
Mm-hmm.
Anchoring a citadel on a Keepstar grid is typically the first big step in taking down the Keepstar. And that's why Keepstar systems iHubs are so important, since if the ADMs are high enough, you can't anchor an Astrahus, and it takes longer to anchor a Fortizar.
Yeah, well, Resident Billy tells us that if you're up against a bunch of warp null fleet or nullified fleet, the bubbles won't work. But I don't think they're in those kinds of ships. So they appear to be in like Feroxes and Jackdaws, right?
Yeah, they do have interceptor fleets that they've flown for some stuff, but I think that's mostly for Intosis fights.
Yeah. The major things that you'll bubble on the gate would be the Baltic fleet if Imperium come up, Ferox fleets for initiative, Jackdaw fleets who it will slow them down slightly, not completely hinder them. But the main thing is if they bring any capital through, then they will be stuck at that gate. So it's a major deterrent for them bringing any possible capitals.
In
This is
last
part of the geography, the defense of Dell, that to get to Dell from Fountain, you have to cross this massive regional gate, which makes it hard. Larger ships with jump drives, you have to take that gate.
in last night's fight, the only nullified thing that I saw was slippery Pete's that the initiative brought.
Oh, so they did have something that was nullified, but
Yeah, slippery Pete's aren't really a mainline doctrine there for a support fleet.
mhm. The slippery Pete's are Tengus, right?
Yeah, they're Tengus with optimized for long range and nullification. They don't do a lot of damage, so one of the things they're really good for is clearing off sabers and other smaller ships that the enemy has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they're more of a what would you call it? They're not a mainline doctrine because they're usually not fighting. They're usually running away and shooting backwards, kiting.
Yeah, they're a support. They're a supporting fleet.
Yeah, support. Go ahead, I cut you off.
They're also great for Intosis fights since they can go through even if you have the systems bubbled and then clear off whatever's toasting.
Yeah. Well, interesting. So the short of it is the Keepstar in Y-2ANO 2 has been attacked. Its shield timer has been broken through. Next engagement is the big one, and that is the armor timer. We should see that when.
So the Keepstar is reinforced for 1 day, 14 minutes. So pretty much in 24 hours time. And like I said, they'll be attacking the armor, put it into final timer.
Right. Why is the armor timer the big one? We've covered this before, but just in case people are wondering, I'll set it up this way.
Let
me set it up this way. There are 3 timers before a structure is destroyed. A healthy structure like this one. First one is the shield. Second one is the armor. The third one is the hull. Now explain why the armor is the big one.
2 timers. So you attack through to the shield, putting 0 shields, it goes into reinforce. That's the first stage. The second stage is when you attack through the armor and the moment you hit structure, you then enter the second timer. The armor one is a big one because if you hit the structure timer, then all the services in that structure turn off. So any clone bay turns off. Any production or any market activity there all ceases because those structures go offline. If you have a clone in that structure, you cannot get it. If you have if it was a Satire and you had a super carrier that was ready to be delivered, you couldn't deliver it. It would completely turn off.
All industry jobs are paused. All clones are temporarily inaccessible, but for refineries, you just lose the moon pull.
So the armor timer. So the first timer is usually a big fight because you want to keep that structure as optimal as possible with clones and stuff, so you can make sure everything's out as well as use it to your best ability, such as a clone bay. You could jump clone to it.
And did we talk about like some of the? So you said there were 2 timers. There's the shield one, then the armor one, and then there's what? The destruction. Is that considered a timer?
Yeah, that's the hull timer.
So why aren't there 3 timers?
There used to be when in HiSec you used to have to account for 3 timers, which is you had to declare war at a specific time because they used to have vulnerability periods. That used to be considered the first timer when a structure used to be vulnerable for a set amount of times when they was originally brought out. Since they did changes to citadels, they realized that was too defender heavy to have a structure that could only be attacked a set amount of hours a week. So they removed that timer kind of a mechanic in general. So then they just made it so the shield is always vulnerable.
Oh, I see where we're getting mixed up. Okay. So what you consider a timer as a vulnerability period.
That when the Citadels were first brought out, that was the first timer, yeah.
Mhm.
But
I
now
think a
they're no
timer
longer, yeah. Now it's no
timer is a
longer
period of invulnerability where you can't attack the structure. So all structures now can be attacked at any time. And when you attack it and drop its shield, it goes into its first timer where you cannot attack it until that timer expires. And then the same thing with the armor. And then past the armor timer, you're killing the structure.
Interesting. Okay. So, it seems like such a basic thing, right? Timers, like where's the timer at? I guess that's the countdown to when we can attack it. That's what the timer is. Okay.
Think of it like Stront timer and passes. You could attack a pass at any time except when it goes into that Stront timer, and then the pass becomes invulnerable until that timer expires.
Yeah, it's just that people usually talk about timers in a positive way, not as like a negative space way. So when they say like, yeah, we got a timer this weekend, what they're saying is we have an occasion where the timer runs out and we can attack this vulnerable structure.
Yeah, that's after the countdown has finished, and it then becomes shootable again for the next stage, whether it be through its armor into its last timer, or through its structure into the destruction.
Huh. So interesting. I hadn't actually given timers much of that much thought. But it makes sense. Okay, so anyway, the reason that this one is important is because this is the first one in the south of Fountain, and so it shows progress. I think if we go back and show you Fountain again, it's just unbelievable that only a couple weeks ago this was a disputed territory. Now it looks completely pacified by the invading forces of PAPI, with everything really belonging to Horde, since they're the ones doing a lot of the entosising. They're the ones taking the Sov. Now, when this moves south, there's still structures, right? So they took out 3. Actually, let's look at that.
Yeah, there's still structures. I don't. You can see them on dot line except for the Sov structures, but there's still a few of them around.
Yeah, you can see these 3 Keepstars up here in the top left. Those are all in Fountain. 2 of them are called the same thing, DJ's Retirement, and the other one is Initiative Holding.
Also, yeah, DJ's Retirement is the holding corp for goons, and Initiative Holding is obviously Initiative's holding corp.
Let's look at actually Citadels. There might be a lot of Citadels, but specifically Keepstars. I think I can get to it here. There. You click the name of the structure, it'll show you just the destruction. It should. What am I missing? Losses? Yeah.
Yes, so click on losses.
Got it.
On that.
Yeah, Keepstar losses, because Keepstars can actually kill things. So you want just the losses. And so the first one that went down in this engagement was J5A. The second one was IGE. And thirdly, CTAC-N. That was Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, respectively. Now we're entering a second weekend. And already they're starting to put a new Keepstar, Y-2ANO, into position to be destroyed. This seems to be moving along at a pretty good clip.
The question in chat saying, looking at Fountain for me on dot land shows Condi or Goonswarm in the southwest. And the reason why you're seeing that is you're looking at Sov ownership, which is the TCU. The TCU is a Sov structure that essentially just puts a flag up. It really has no other function other than to wave a flag. If you go to the pull down and select iHub ownership, the iHub is the Sov structure that holds the upgrades and really the power of your Sov. And the iHubs, you'll see that they're all under a different alliance rect, which is a Horde.
Yeah, if you look at TCUs, those are territorial claim units. Those are usually an afterthought. So you might see groups in here that aren't still see Condi all through these constellations, but those are afterthoughts. The real impressive feat is controlling the infrastructure, which is essentially the building permits. And this allows you to build bridges so that you can dominate this area by traveling it quickly. And you essentially control the defense modifiers of all the structures in it. So it is what people fight over in SOV. It's not the territory claim unit. I think the territorial claim unit, all it does is save you fuel on your structures and put your name on a map.
It's one of those peculiarities with the SOV system, and often a complaint that the flag, the thing that puts your name on the map, is just in name only. The power is actually in a different structure.
Yeah, and this one area here that cannot be conquered, this is NPC space for the Serpentis. If I go ahead and, well, you can see it here. It says right here Serpentis Prime. But if I go ahead and look at sovereignty, you'll see that it cannot be colored by anything. It is NPC space. And that is where Fountain Core lives. That's a group of people that live and roam in Fountain and just fight everybody who tries to take it over. And it's kind of like indigenous people and all these other people coming in are like colonists. And there's just always that group in there. Sometimes they're co-opted, sometimes they're pacified, other times they're such a thorn in the side that it drives people out. I think their free gates used to be Fountain Core. Those guys are really good at the Alliance tournament. And
I think the alliance in living in Fountain Core nowadays is Gangbang Team.
Never heard of that. But yeah, Free Gates was, I believe they're, I'm going to get this wrong, but Romanian, I want to say. And so some Romanian players that play EVE Online are considerably good players. I think it's Romanian. Many years ago, they dominated a lot of, or Hungarian. Yeah, Hun Reloaded is Hungarian, and I think the Free Gates was part of that. So anyway, that's Fountain Core. That's Fountain. It's mostly fallen, it looks like, and now we're battling for the south. I want to show you one more thing. Look at ships destroyed in the last 24 hours. You can see how red that is compared to everything else. 1,400 ships destroyed. It's a pretty big fight. And I don't think this includes all the fighters, the non-piloted ships that were destroyed. Cool. All right. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. We haven't done this in a long time, but the okay. Try that again. See Killborn over 5 billion. Now let's do that again. Over 10 billion. Yeah, that is badly is broken right now.
Yeah, so just add a / to the URL and it will work quickly. Squares has been doing some updates and there's a few different places where it is causing that error.
Okay, so I just typed it in the 10B. It's nice and clean URL. Okay, let's have a look here. Mostly I'm looking at Fortizars so far. Oh, it's a 30 billion jump freighter in perimeter. Looks like this got taken out, ganked by Goon Swarm. Again, I think Goon Swarm says that they're only killing people that are shipping supplies off to the war front. And the way they know that is they take names in the war area and then kill those people. But yeah, a lot of this stuff in here is, I mean, this is like 26 billion of injectors. And a lot of PI and skill extractors. This does not look like corporate gear. And this guy thought he was safe because he put on reinforced bulkheads, and I'm sure he had implants as well. But when you go up against these Taloses, These are gunboats, and enough of those Taloses will cut through anything. So there's no safety in a jump freighter. So this guy might have had, I think, with this Charon. Oh no, this is just a freighter. Charon. Yes. Okay.
Oh,
It's
why
a
was
carrying
he
lot.
carrying blue loot?
I don't know what he had in mind here, but wrong ship to be moving that kind of stuff out. Anyway, taken out. Maybe that was
He was carrying injectors.
injectors and extractors. I think it was a guy who was getting his stuff to that one. 30 billion gone. He's just carrying equipment in a paper thin ship compared to those Taloses.
Yeah, Fusion is one of the big suicide anchor multi-boxers in that area.
Hmm.
If you look at who's on the kill mails, it's mostly characters with the last name Fusion.
Yeah, right here too. He ganked another 12 billion. Rhea. Now this is what I thought it was. This is actually a jump freighter, which can get you up to like 800, 700, 800 EHP, effective hit points. So you can survive quite an attack, but you still can't survive against Taloses. Taloses use large guns that are usually meant for battleships. These are battle cruisers. And those things, enough of those will cut through anything. And this looks like it was carrying a much less expensive load.
Yeah, most of the value, it looks like it's in the hull and the fuel and its its refits.
It's Black Frog. They killed Black Frog.
Yeah, that was more likely a target of opportunity. So I think with Goonswarm specifically, they're targeting the logistics routes and the logistic transports, but also targets opportunities such as the freighter previously. I believe was more of a opportunistic attack rather than a planned attack. Red Frog is well known. The Black Corp within Red Frog
The frogs,
Alliance.
right? There's black, there's red.
Yeah, they are well known to supply the war fronts because they are blue with large amounts of corporations and alliances. They have docking access in loads of different places, just because they are considered a neutral third party.
And I think you're right, 100%. No matter what your task is your mission. If somebody undocks with injectors or plex in their cargo, that's just too juicy to skip. You're going to go for it.
Our age version of drug running, right?
You're a little quiet. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
First time ever.
I didn't say he wasn't talkative. I said he was quiet.
Yeah, his volume's low.
Right. So this freighter they got killed for 30 billion. Probably just a juicy target. Jump freighter looked like it was a little more strategic in killing Red Frog, actually Black Frog.
The interesting thing about that freighter is his cargo was the equivalent of 60,000.
60,000 what?
60,000 M3 in volume. So he could have moved that in deep space transport or something smaller.
Oh, I see what you're saying. This so the stuff that he was carrying didn't need a freighter-sized hull. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that because that definitely did not need a freighter.
I think that pilot may have been having security in the size of the ship. I know previously, many years ago, someone moved a flycatcher BPO, E2 BPO in a freighter because he assumed big, healthy, unable to be ganked by a single ship, that he was safe in doing so. Not the case with 35 Taloses.
Yeah, and you can see he put on bulkheads and he put in. He deliberately tried to make this thing as thick as possible, so it didn't. So it had some kind of a tank. So I think his idea wasn't going in the right direction. I just think he didn't have the situational awareness of what works and what doesn't.
If you're moving a freighter through high sec, you should always have a webbing alt, and